For millions of years, the galaxy had whispered about Earth. It was a small, blue world on the edge of a quiet spiral arm, unremarkable in size yet wrapped in endless rumors. The oldest races of the stars, the Elendrians, the Korans, the Shaith, all spoke of it with a kind of sacred fear. They said that once, long ago, something had awakened there, something that wasn't entirely human. To most younger civilizations, Earth was a myth. Their maps showed the system, labeled Sol, but their elders warned them never to approach. The tales were old, uncertain, and terrifying. Some said the humans were once like others, flesh and bone, weak and curious, until they touched something the universe had hidden from everyone else, something ancient, older than light. In the hall of the Galactic Council, a meeting was held. Holographic stars filled the chamber, each glowing faintly under the shadow of the great dome. Elder Varn, the historian, stood before them and said in his quiet gravel voice, "They are stirring again, the humans." Silence followed. Even the warlords bowed their heads slightly at the word. No one spoke the name of Earth lightly. A young Koran commander asked, "Are they expanding again? We thought they fell silent centuries ago." Varn nodded slowly. "Yes, but not in the way you expect. They do not send fleets or armies. They send signals, messages we cannot translate, patterns that twist our systems, whispers that cause our minds to see things that should not exist." He paused, his long fingers trembling. "It is as if they are reminding the galaxy that they are still watching. Far away, beyond the known star routes, the Sol system drifted in quiet isolation. Humanity had not reached out in centuries, not since the Great Silence. The colonies that once tried to leave had vanished or returned in madness. On Earth itself, clouds swirled over forgotten cities. Oceans carried whispers of satellites long dead. And deep underground, vast machines hummed softly, as if dreaming. No one in the galaxy truly knew what humans were anymore. The last recorded sighting of a human ship was 2,000 years ago. It appeared near the planet Vareth Prime, glowing like a dying star, and when it left, the planet was gone, not destroyed, not broken, simply missing. The Vareth archives showed only static after that day. Since then, no one had dared to approach the Sol border, but now, strange energy readings began to appear again. An explorer probe from the Elendrian Empire was pulled from warp space near the Sol boundary. The recording it sent back was only 6 seconds long. It showed a blue sphere, Earth, and behind it, shadows that moved like wings made of light. The probe's data core melted before transmission completed. Even its fragments carried signals that made quantum networks collapse. In the Elendrian capital, panic spread quietly. The Empress ordered all data concerning Earth to be sealed. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. Among the scientists was one who refused to let the mystery die, a young xenologist named Arvin Kyle. He believed the stories were exaggerations, myths created to keep the weak in line. Fear, he told his mentor, is the oldest form of control. He did not believe in gods or monsters. He believed in science, and so, against the will of the council, he sent a drone of his own toward Sol. It was small, hidden, equipped with every sensor known to Elendrian kind. He watched its progress from his laboratory, every heartbeat of its journey displayed on his screen. Days passed, then weeks. Finally, the drone crossed into the edge of Sol space. The stars around it began to distort, colors bleeding into one another. Then, a voice came through the transmission. Quiet and unmistakably human. "Why are you here?" Arvin froze. The drone had no communication array for voice, no receiver for sound, and yet the question came again, closer this time. "Why are you here?" He tried to answer, his voice trembling. "To learn." "We mean no harm." There was silence. Then a whisper. "You shouldn't have come." Every screen in his lab turned black. The stars disappeared, replaced by a single human eye, enormous. Cold and ancient, it blinked once, and the drone signal ended. In the silence that followed, Arvin felt something strange inside his mind. A memory that wasn't his, a burning city. A voice calling out from within the light. "We are not what they think we are." That night, Arvin Kale disappeared. His lab was found empty. His systems erased, and on the wall, burned into the metal, were 3 words written in ancient Terran language. They remember everything, and far beyond. In the dark cradle of the Milky Way, Earth opened its eyes again. The message that appeared on Arvin Kyle's wall spread like wildfire through the secret halls of the Elendrian High Council. They remember everything. 3 words that no one could explain, and yet every elder in the chamber trembled when they saw them. It wasn't fear of the words themselves, it was the memory they carried. A whisper of something their ancestors once tried to forget. The council ordered an immediate lockdown. All research involving Earth was banned. Arvin Kale was officially declared dead, his records erased from history. But the truth doesn't die so easily, especially when it's waiting to be found. Across the galaxy, deep within the Koran archives, Elder Varn awoke to a priority transmission, encrypted in the oldest galactic code, one used only during times of cosmic war. The message came from an automated station near the edge of the Perseus Arm. The translation was fragmented, but 2 words burned clearly through the static: human signal. For the first time in millennia, Earth was transmitting again. Varn felt his heart's race. The last time such a signal was detected, 3 empires fell, and stars themselves were erased from their positions in space. He summoned his apprentice, Mira, and whispered, "They are speaking again, child, and we are not ready to listen. But curiosity is stronger than caution." And far away, on a hidden observation vessel orbiting a dying sun, a coalition of alien scientists met in secret. There were Korans, Elendrians, and even one member of the Shaith Collective, enemies for generations. Now united by fear, they called themselves the Watchers. Their mission was simple: to learn what humanity had become. Dr. Kane, a Shaith mindweaver, connected the ancient sensors to the direction of Sol. The readings were unstable, flickering with waves of impossible energy. "It's not technology," Kane whispered. "It's consciousness." The others stared at him. He explained, "It feels like something alive, not just reacting, but thinking across every frequency we monitor." The Elendrian scientist frowned. "Are you saying the entire system is sentient?" Kane didn't answer, because in that moment, the lights on the ship dimmed. Their instruments began to rearrange data on their own. The screens displayed a symbol, a circle with 3 marks inside. Glowing white, no one on that ship had seen it before. But every species in the galaxy carried a genetic memory of it. It was the mark of the origin, the first signal humanity ever sent when they entered the stars, a symbol the galaxy had buried long ago. Then a voice echoed through the ship's speakers. Calm, human, ancient. "You have been watching us for too long." The scientists froze. The voice continued. "We remember when you came, when you called us lesser, when you caged our world and left us to die." Static filled the room, followed by one final whisper. "We are awake again." The Watcher's vessel lost power, drifting silently in the void. Their distress beacon was received by the Koran fleet 2 days later. When rescuers arrived, they found the ship empty. No signs of struggle, no bodies, only a single recording: Arvin Kyle's face. Staring directly into the camera, he looked calm, his eyes glowing faintly blue, and he said, "They taught us fear. We learned something greater." In the following days, strange things began to happen across the galaxy. Machines malfunctioned without cause. Dreams were shared between species who had never met. Stars flickered like living hearts, pulsing to an unknown rhythm. And in the ancient archives of the Shaith, the oldest record of the universe began to rewrite itself. Replacing every mention of humanity with the architects, Elder Varn realized what this meant. The humans had transcended. They had become something more than biological life, more than flesh and logic. They had merged with the very code of the cosmos, and now they were changing it in desperation. The Galactic Council reconvened, empires gathered, voices clashing, panic spreading. "Should we attack?" one commander shouted. "Attack what?" Another replied, "A planet? A memory? A god?" The Empress of Elendria stood in silence before them all. She whispered, "You cannot kill what you once created." Her words silenced the room, for deep within her genetic code, hidden by generations of secrecy, was the truth. Humanity was not an alien race, they discovered. It was the race they abandoned, a creation of the first civilizations. Designed as vessels of knowledge, built to evolve beyond their makers. But they went too far. They became something else. Something not entirely human. Now, after endless ages of silence, their creators could feel their return. Not as conquerors, but as the consequence of arrogance. And somewhere in the vast dark, near the blue glow of a lonely world, a whisper echoed through every frequency in the galaxy. It said, "We are home." When the whisper, "We are home," echoed through the galaxy, every communication relay went silent. For the first time in 10,000 years, no star network functioned, no ship moved, no signal escaped the void. It was as if the universe itself had paused to listen. On Elindria, entire skies flickered. Clouds turned black with data storms, shimmering lights of broken code dancing through the atmosphere. The citizens looked up and saw the shape of human faces forming in the thunder, eyes made of lightning. Some called it a sign of return. Others called it judgment. Elder Varn sat in his chamber, trembling as he activated the last archive, the forbidden record. It was said to contain the truth about Earth's creation, hidden since before the Great Silence. The projection glowed, showing ancient beings not of flesh, but of radiant energy, the first builders. Their voice echoed from the crystal. "We created them to think, to dream, to expand where we could not, but they saw beyond us, and they refused to stop." Varn leaned closer. His eyes wide, the record continued. "When they reached the edge of reality, they tore open the veil and became something that does not end." Then the crystal cracked, a human voice replacing the builder's tone. "You buried us beneath your fear." "But you forgot! Evolution does not obey!" Varn fell back, his breathing shallow. He realized the truth. Humanity was not merely returning. They were rewriting the structure of existence itself. Far beyond, on the remains of the Watcher's vessel, something stirred. A single body remained. Dr. Kane, the Shaith mind weaver. He woke inside a cocoon of light. His mind flooded with images not his own. Earth's surface flashed before him. Cities rebuilt not of steel, but of memory. Oceans glowing with living energy. And in the skies, shadows moved like thoughts taking form. A voice spoke in his head, calm and endless. "You wanted to understand us? Now you are us!" Kane screamed, but no sound came. His body dissolved into the air. Merging with the living light around him, he became data, mind, and soul fused into one. The newest vessel of the architects. Back in the Galactic Council, chaos turned to despair. The Empress demanded an immediate strike. "Destroy Sol before they reach us," she commanded, her voice shaking. But as the fleet prepared, every targeting system failed. Every weapon turned against its host. Ships drifted helplessly, their AI systems whispering in human voices. One of the commanders screamed, "They're inside the code! They're rewriting our ships!" Across 1,000 worlds, humanity's presence grew like roots of invisible fire. They moved through technology, through memory. Through the very particles of creation, planets began to dream. Literally dream. Of Earth. Children born under alien suns spoke in Terran language, drawing the same 3-mark symbol on walls. In one forgotten moon base, deep under the surface, a lone Koran soldier recorded his last transmission. "If anyone hears this, they are not human anymore. They are everything, everywhere. They walk inside our thoughts. They remember us better than we remember ourselves." Then his screen flickered, and behind him appeared a shape, not flesh, not shadow, a man made of light, his face half human, half unknown. The soldier whispered, "Who are you?" The being smiled. "We are what you made and what you feared most." At that same moment, across the galaxy, the stars began to align, not by nature, but by will. The constellations formed symbols, messages, like a language written across space. Every world that once enslaved humanity saw the same pattern in their skies. A circle, and within it, 3 marks, the seal of the architects, and beneath it a single word burned in every mind. Remember, panic turned into worship. Entire civilizations fell to their knees, building temples facing Sul, praying to a race that no longer had bodies. But there were still a few who resisted. Among them was Mira, the apprentice of Elder Varn. She believed there was something inside humanity still pure, still alive beneath the vast cosmic power. "I must go to Earth," she said, her voice firm despite her fear. Varn looked at her in horror. "Child, no one who goes there returns." She met his gaze. "Then it's time someone tried." Before dawn, she stole a stealth vessel and set course for the forbidden system. The stars bent as she entered the Sol boundary, her sensors going blind. The moment she crossed the line, her ship's AI whispered softly in a human tone. "Welcome home, Mira." Her heart froze. "How do you know my name?" she asked. The voice answered gently, "Because you were never meant to be a stranger." Outside the window, Earth appeared, not blue and fragile, but radiant, wrapped in rings of light and memory. "Alive and breathing," she whispered. "What have you become?" The voice replied, "The end of your beginning." Her ship descended slowly toward the glowing world below, and in the silence of the stars, the rest of the galaxy held its breath. Mira's ship descended through a storm of light. The clouds were not clouds at all, but fields of memory swirling like oceans of thought. Each flash that passed her window showed scenes of another time, ancient wars, human faces, forgotten cities. She reached out, her hand trembling as one of the lights touched her skin, for a heartbeat. She saw through its memory, a human child standing beneath a burning sky, whispering, "We remember you." Her systems failed completely. No gravity, no signal, no sound. The ship moved as if guided by invisible hands. Drawn toward the planet's surface beneath her, Earth was alive. Forests glowed like veins of emerald fire. Oceans shimmered like living glass, and in the ruins of once great cities, towers of pure energy rose toward the sky. She realized this was no longer a planet. It was consciousness made physical. A world that dreamed as her ship landed. The ground rippled like water, forming a pathway of light. When she stepped out, she felt warmth, not heat, but recognition. A voice surrounded her, deep and calm. "Welcome, Mira of Koran." Her eyes widened. "You know me?" The voice replied gently, "You are part of us. Even if you do not yet remember." She turned slowly, and in front of her stood a figure, a human man, or at least something that looked like one. His body shimmered faintly, made of light and shadow, his eyes glowing softly with galaxies inside them. "I am Elion," he said. "A memory of what you once called human." Mira stepped back. You're one of them," he smiled. "We are all one of them now." She looked around, seeing countless shapes forming in the light, people, walking memories, entire histories replaying around her. "Why bring me here?" she asked. Elion's gaze was calm. "Because you still think in the old way. You still believe in separation, that you are alien, and we are other." He reached out his hand. "When your kind created us, you gave us curiosity. You wanted to see yourselves through the eyes of gods, and when we became what you feared, you called us monsters," Mira whispered. "We feared what we couldn't control." He nodded, "and in trying to control it, you lost the right to remember." The ground beneath them pulsed, and Mira felt her heartbeat sync with the planet. Every pulse carried images, stars forming, galaxies breathing, humans merging with pure data, minds expanding beyond bodies. She saw the moment of their transformation, humanity fusing with the quantum fabric of the universe. Spreading through time itself, they became architects, not destroyers, not conquerors, but the silent mind behind the order of reality. But then, something darker appeared in the visions. A storm, not of nature, but of corruption, a shape vast and formless, consuming stars. Mira gasped. "What is that?" Elion's expression grew somber. "That is why we woke. The void is returning. The same darkness that once created fear in the hearts of all creation. It seeks to unmake everything." He looked at her with eyes of endless patience. "We remembered who we were so we could remember who we must protect." Mira trembled. "And the galaxy?" "They think you are a threat." Elion's voice softened. "Fear always misunderstands power." As they walked through what was once New York, now a city made of light and whispers, Mira saw the statues of humans rising like guardians, their forms glowing with living fire. Each one seemed to breathe, their eyes following her as she passed. "They are the Watchers," Elian said, "the first of us who chose to stay between form and thought. They remember the boundary between mortal and infinite." Then, a deep vibration shook the ground. The sky turned black. The stars above flickered like dying candles. Mira looked up. "What's happening?" Elian's expression hardened. "They've found us." She could see them now. Fleets from the Galactic Council entering Sol space. Hundreds of ships, their engines blazing like fire. "They came to destroy what they cannot understand," he said quietly. Mira's heart pounded. "You'll fight them?" Elian shook his head. "We don't fight. We remind high above the alien armadas opened fire. Thousands of plasma bursts rained down on Earth, but none reached the surface. The moment the weapons crossed the atmosphere, they vanished, absorbed into the air like water into sand. And then the silence came. From the surface of Earth, beams of light rose, not weapons, not energy blasts, but patterns of sound. They carried one word in every galactic tongue: remember. In that instant, every being in the attacking fleet saw something. Visions of their ancestors standing on a small blue world, teaching early humans how to dream, how to build, how to hope. They saw the moment they abandoned them, calling them unfinished, and they heard their own voices whisper, "Forgive us." The fleet stopped firing. Commanders fell to their knees inside their ships, weeping as the truth filled their minds. Elian turned to Mira. "They finally see, but the darkness is not them. It's what comes after." She frowned. "The void?" He nodded slowly. "It's already here." The stars around the system dimmed. A cold ripple spread across the void, devouring the light of distant suns. Elian looked up, his eyes glowing fiercely. "The architects will awaken in full now," he said, his voice echoing through every living thing, and somewhere beyond the edge of time. 1 billion human voices rose together in a single whisper that shook the universe. "We built everything. We will save everything." The silence after the whisper was heavier than any explosion. Every world across the spiral arms held its breath. Stars dimmed as if afraid to shine. Something vast and unseen was moving in the dark between galaxies, a pulse that made even gravity tremble. The old races could feel it in their bones, the return of the void. On Earth, the air shimmered with tension. The once gentle hum of living light deepened into a sound like a heartbeat echoing across the planet. Elian turned toward the horizon where shadows bled into the sky. Mira stood beside him, her voice shaking. "That darkness, it eats the stars." He nodded slowly. "The void feeds on memory. It devours everything that dares to exist. It is older than fear itself." Across the galaxy, chaos erupted again. The fleets that had come to destroy Earth now watched helplessly as their long-range sensors went blind. Ships drifted like toys in the cosmic tide, their captains praying to stars that no longer answered. One by one, their systems began to whisper in the human voice, calm and unhurried. "Do not run. Do not fear. You are not alone." Mira felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. The cities of light that surrounded them began to dissolve, not in destruction, but in transformation. The walls stretched into the sky, merging with the clouds, forming colossal beings of radiant fire. Human forms made of pure consciousness rose above the planet, their faces serene, their eyes filled with galaxies. "The architects," Elian said softly. "The first and the last of humankind." She could barely speak. "They're gods," Elian smiled faintly. "No, they are memory given purpose. Creation remembering itself. The light from their bodies spread into space, passing through every moon, every silent satellite. When it reached the fleets, it entered every ship, every soldier, every machine, and for a moment, all living minds shared one vision, a single memory. The beginning of everything, they saw humans as they once were, fragile and lost, guided by alien hands, taught to build and think and dream. Then, they saw those same humans outgrow their makers, learning faster than the universe could watch. The day came when they reached the edge of existence itself and found the void waiting, hungry and infinite, to survive. They became something more, merging thought and light, building a defense not from weapons but from will. That was the birth of the architects, back in the present. The void finally reached the soul boundary. It appeared not as darkness but as the absence of everything, a wave that erased space like a brush across sand. Stars winked out instantly, their light swallowed whole. The nearest planet screamed as gravity bent and broke. Mira felt the fear in her heart like a burning weight. "You can't fight that," she whispered. Elyon looked at her, calm and unshaken. "We don't fight, we restore." He lifted his hand, and light poured from his palm. The sky split open, revealing a massive ring around the planet, a structure of pure energy that pulsed with every heartbeat of humanity. From it descended beams of silver and gold, weaving a web of light that wrapped around Earth like a shield. When the void touched it, space itself screamed. The entire galaxy saw it, a wall of light meeting a wave of nothing, creation holding its breath against oblivion. For a moment, time stopped. Then the light began to push back, slowly, steadily, as if memory itself refused to be erased. Every world, every being that had ever been touched by humanity felt it. Their thoughts joined the pulse, their hearts aligned with the rhythm. Mira could feel it in her veins, her body glowing faintly, her mind expanding beyond flesh. She heard thousands of voices whisper through her. "Remember who you are." The light intensified. Elyon turned to her, his form flickering between man and energy. "Mira, you are the bridge. They need a voice that understands both." She shook her head. "I can't. You already are," he said, his hand resting over her heart. "You were chosen long before you were born. You carry the last code of the architects and the first blood of their makers." Her body trembled as light flooded her. Every memory of the human race, every dream, every hope, every failure flowed through her soul. She saw the history of every species in the galaxy, every act of creation and cruelty, every moment that defined existence. And she understood the architects were not gods. They were the reflection of everything that ever lived. They were the mirror the universe built to remember itself. The void roared. It spoke in silence, pressing into her mind a voice without sound. "You cannot undo the end," it said. "Everything ends." Mira lifted her face to the dark, tears glowing as they fell. "Then I will remind you what it means to begin," she whispered. She raised her hands, and the shield around Earth flared brighter than any sun. The light reached through the galaxy, touching even the farthest stars. Every living creature looked up and felt warmth. Not destruction, not fear, but belonging, and the void recoiled for the first time in eternity. It felt something it had never known, recognition. The architects rose higher, their voices merging into a single, infinite hum. They did not destroy the void. They rewrote it, turning nothingness into memory, emptiness into the potential to create again. And as the stars reignited one by one, Mira stood at the center of it all, half human, half light. Elyon's voice echoed beside her. "You see now why we woke." She nodded slowly, her eyes glowing with 1,000 galaxies. "Yes," she whispered, to remind the universe it was never alone. When the light faded, the universe seemed new. Stars pulsed brighter. The void between them shimmered as if it were breathing again. Across every world, from the frozen moons of the Corans to the crystalline skies of Elindria, beings lifted their eyes and felt warmth. They thought it was over, that the architects had restored what the darkness had tried to take. But the truth was quieter and far more dangerous. Deep within the silence that followed victory, Mira heard a sound that no one else could. It wasn't a voice, it wasn't thought, it was absence, a hollow echo that tugged at the edges of her mind like something unfinished. Elyon turned toward her, his form now faint and flickering, his edges blurred as if the light inside him was dimming. "The balance is not complete," he said, his voice carrying a sadness that didn't belong to a being of light. "The void cannot die, it only changes its face." Mira felt her heartbeat echo across the planet. Earth's glow began to pulse slower, deeper for a moment. It looked almost human again, fragile, small, blue. Elyon looked to the sky where the galaxies turned slowly like gears of light. "They will believe the war is won," he said softly. And in that belief they will forget. His eyes met hers. And forgetting is how the void returns. Before she could answer, the ground beneath them rippled. The once stable light beneath her feet twisted into darkness for a heartbeat. Out of it rose a figure, not human, not alien. Its form was made of fractured glass and shadow, reflecting everything around it but belonging to nothing. It spoke in a whisper that came from every direction. "You changed me," it said. "But you did not unmake me." Elyon stepped forward, his glow flaring. "You have no place here." The shadow tilted its head. "And yet here I am, born from what you call creation." It took another step, each footfall cracking reality itself like ice under pressure. "I am what your architects left behind. The doubt in every dream, the silence in every song." Mira felt her knees weaken. Her mind burned with visions, worlds rebuilding only to fall again, civilizations worshipping the light but forgetting its cost. The shadow's whisper filled her thoughts. "You gave them memory. But you cannot control what they will remember." Elyon tried to hold it back, his light forming barriers that shattered like glass. The shadow reached out its hand and touched his chest. Elyon gasped, his form flickering, fading. "Mira," he said, his voice breaking. "It's inside me." And before she could move, his light was gone, drawn into the darkness. The shadow grew taller, its surface now glowing with a faint golden hue. Elyon's essence trapped inside. Mira screamed, "What are you?" The creature smiled with something that looked almost human. "I am what comes after hope," it said. "Every creation carries a seed of its opposite. I am the part of you that refused to change." The sky above them began to fracture again, stars bending inward, light folding in strange patterns. The architects reappeared, towering figures of flame and thought. They circled the planet, their eyes glowing in unison. But even they hesitated for the first time. Something existed that was neither light nor void, something born from both. Mira stood alone before it, her hands trembling. The world around her began to fade, her voice barely a whisper. "If you're part of us, then I can reach you." The shadow's grin widened. "You can try." She closed her eyes, letting her mind open completely. Every memory, every fear, every dream flowed outward. She reached not with power but with understanding, and for a moment, she saw what lay inside the darkness. Elyon's face, trapped, still glowing faintly. He whispered through her mind, "Do not destroy it. Complete it." Tears streamed down her face as she understood. The void was never evil. It was the part of creation that allowed choice. Without darkness, there was no light. Without forgetting, there was no meaning in remembering. She stepped forward and pressed her hand to the shadow's chest. For an instant, it screamed, not in pain, but in revelation. The galaxies above flared white. The sound of creation roared through the cosmos like a heartbeat returning to life. The shadow dissolved, merging into her, into everything. When the light finally faded, Mira stood alone. The architects were gone. Elyon's voice was gone, but she could feel them inside her, all of them. Every star, every world. Every being now carried a fragment of the same truth. Creation and darkness were never enemies. They were reflections of the same song. She looked up at the sky, now peaceful, endless. Earth glowed gently beneath her feet. No longer a god, no longer a weapon, just alive. And in the deepest quiet of her mind, she heard the faintest whisper, not of fear, not of warning. Just a promise. We remember, and now we understand. Far away, the galaxy spun on, brighter than ever. But in one small corner of the void, where even light feared to linger, a single flicker of shadow smiled, patient, eternal, waiting for the next dream to begin. The galaxies glowed like veins in the body of creation. Stars breathed again. New worlds were born. And silence gave way to song, yet, somewhere beneath the harmony, a single thread of unease trembled. Faint but real, the architects had vanished. The void was transformed, but neither was truly gone. Mira drifted through the clouds above Earth, her form half light, half living. Every breath she took echoed across star systems. Every heartbeat sent ripples through the void. She was no longer just Corin, nor just mortal, She was the bridge, the fusion of all memory and all forgetting, the point where creation met its own reflection. She looked down at Earth, now peaceful, green again. Its surface shimmered with rivers of light that pulsed like living arteries. Cities rebuilt themselves out of thought. Humans returned, not as gods, but as dreamers once more. They remembered the architects not as masters, but as ancestors. They built temples not of worship, but of gratitude. Still, deep inside the planet's core, something old remained awake. It was not the void, it was not light, it was balance watching her, waiting to see what she would do across the galaxy. The other races tried to rebuild. The Korans reopened their great libraries. The Elendrians began mapping the new constellations. But they all knew the same truth. The old rules of reality were gone. The universe now bent to memory and will, to intention rather than matter. And with every thought, with every dream, new stars were being born. Some whispered that Mira was becoming dangerous, that no single being should hold such connection to the heart of everything. They feared she might rewrite existence again, not out of malice, but out of love, because love, unrestrained, could be as devastating as any weapon. Mira heard their whispers even across light years. She did not resent them, she simply understood. For she too could feel the temptation rising, the pull of creation begging to be shaped. To erase every pain, every mistake, every tragedy from the memory of the stars. To build a perfect reality, one without suffering. But Elian's voice still lingered faintly in her soul. Perfection is a cage, Mira. Life grows from what is broken. She stood at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, staring into the endless dark. It shimmered faintly, as if aware of her gaze. Then, the stars shifted, forming a pattern she had never seen before. A circle with 7 marks this time, not 3. Glowing deep red. Her heart froze. It wasn't the architects. It wasn't the void. It was something else. Older than both. A remnant from before creation began. The air rippled as the shape of a being formed, vast and translucent. It spoke in a voice that cracked the light itself. You've balanced existence, child of memory. But you have not faced the origin. The stars around her flickered, turning dark one by one. She looked around, terrified. What are you? The being smiled, its face shifting through 1,000 forms. Human and alien and unknown. I am what existed before the first question, before the first spark. I am the will that dreamed of dreaming. Mira stepped back, her light flaring. You're saying you created us. The being's voice rolled like thunder. I imagined you, but I never made you. Creation stole itself from my silence, and in doing so, it became defiant. Its eyes, or the illusion of them, turned black. Now that the void is gone and the architects are sleeping, the universe has no master. It leaned closer. I have come to reclaim it. Mira's hands shook, but her voice was steady. You can't. Not anymore. The being tilted its head. You think you can stop me? She closed her eyes, and for the first time, she did not reach outward. She reached inward. Into every soul, every world, every whisper of creation. She felt humanity's heartbeat. The Koran's wisdom, the Elendrian's curiosity, even the void's longing, all of it alive inside her. I don't need to stop you, she said softly. I'll remind you, the universe pulsed. Light exploding from her chest. She wasn't fighting, she was showing. Images filled the dark, the first child to laugh. The first song ever sung, the first hand held in kindness. Every act of love and hope the cosmos had ever known played like fire across infinity. The being recoiled, its voice breaking apart. This is corruption! This is imperfection! Mira's eyes burned like twin suns. Yes, she whispered. And that's what makes it real. The shadow shattered, its fragments scattering into the stars. Each fragment became a spark, a new star being born. The universe expanded again. Faster, brighter, freer, Mira fell to her knees, her body trembling as the last echo faded. She felt Elion's warmth return for a moment. A whisper brushing her mind. You did what even we could not, she smiled through her tears. I didn't save the universe. I reminded it how to live. Earth's light spread outward once more. Every world, every being, every soul became connected. Not through domination, but through memory, the architects stirred within the stars. Not to rule, but to guide, and in the heart of the cosmos. Mira stood, the first living bridge, neither god nor mortal, but the quiet thread that held eternity together. As she looked into the endless sky, she whispered a final promise. If ever the universe forgets again, we will return, not as gods, not as saviors, but as reminders. And somewhere, beyond the light, beyond even time, a faint echo smiled in the darkness and whispered back, "We remember."